What's up, everyone, and welcome to the first of our season-long episode reviews for The Acolyte, the Star Wars show that's been the most dunked on before it's even aired. And for good reason. But as always, we'll reserve our judgment until the show proves itself one way or the other. Regardless of the quality, however, HateWatchers will be here every week to have a little fun with the show. Today we're breaking down and reviewing the 2-episode premiere, with the episodes entitled Lost/Found and Revenge/Justice, respectively. Yes, we're using slashes in our episode titles now. That's the level Star Wars has degraded to. Without further ado, let's get right into the breakdown, so the spoilers are about to be approaching at light speed. We begin The Acolyte with an opening crawl, minus the crawling portion, which explains to us that this show takes place 100 years before the Empire and 150 years before Luke Skywalker reached his final form. The show opens up on the set of Shogun, where an assassin goes in search of her target. That target ends up being Jedi Master Trinity, who's busy closing down the bar with a bunch of degenerates. The assassin tries to goad the Jedi into a fight by saying that she thought The Last Jedi was a good movie. Then she lashes out at everyone, as people who share her opinion are prone to do, and eventually Master Trinity finishes downloading her training program from the Matrix and fights back. The bartender is still mocking the assassin, which distracts Trinity long enough to get killed. Thank God they brought in Carrie-Anne Moss to bring this amazing character to life for all of 3 minutes. Then the assassin restrains herself from killing an innocent guy and his very, very young child, which some idiot somewhere will use to argue that this murderer isn't a bad guy. The same girl wakes up with her Walkman and heads out to her job, where she works as a mechanic for the Chinese government.
What is taking so long?
2 characters straight out of a Disney kids show arrive in search of the girl, and the Jedi go straight for the Jedi mind trick rather than trying to understand this guy's accent. The girl eventually returns to her room, where she finds the Jedi Knight polishing his lightsaber, if you know what I mean. The 2 Jedi interrogate the girl and just tell us her backstory, in which she lost her lesbian mothers and her twin sister to a fire. She learns of Master Trinity's death and that she's a suspect when the bartender busts in and says, "That's her! That's the idiot that liked The Last Jedi! And she killed someone." They arrest her and leave her to be escorted to Coruscant by droids. Boy, nothing can go wrong with that. We move to Coruscant, where the reigning Squid Game champion is hosting the brand new Squid Game Kids Edition. He asks the young contestants a question, and only the diverse female pupils have any answers, of course. A fellow Jedi Master, Master Time Waster, informs Master Squid that his former Padawan Osha is suspected of hacking into the Matrix and deleting Master Trinity. Elsewhere, Osha is not enjoying her ride on Star Tours when her fellow criminals bust out and leave her behind on the careening ship. Luckily, she gets a hold of her little droid thing, which conveniently can be snapped in half to access its jailbreak feature. She saves some guy who got arrested in a bikini-bottom brothel, and he steals her escape pod, forcing her to fasten her seatbelt when the seatbelt sign is on and go down with the Boeing. Master Squid just can't believe his former pupil would think that The Last Jedi was a good movie. I mean, the creator didn't even set out to make a good movie, just one that subverted expectations. He and his Padawan set out to track Osha down, and they catch Yord force choking the chicken again. On Karlak, Osha sees a vision of her sister when they were young, and her sister pledges revenge as we see a vision of their home planet. Ah, good memories. Master Squid tells his fellow Jedi that Osha's sister Mae started the fire that killed her family and that Mae died in the process. When they arrive and search for Osha, Yord is easily excited and whips out his holy weapon too soon. They corner Osha, who yells that it wasn't her. She thinks that The Last Jedi is dog shit, but when she least expects it, gravity attempts to claim another victim. But not even gravity can stop the Squid Game champion from saving people. Off on some beach used for edgy photo shoots, the Dark Edgelord himself delivers a horribly clunky lecture about how an Acolyte of the Dark can kill a dream, and telling Mae to kill a Jedi without a weapon. And with that, Episode 1 comes to an end. Episode 2 kicks off with Mae paying a local street rat to bust her into a Jedi temple. She comes to attack this Jedi Master, but she needs him to make the first move, so she tries really hard to get him to flinch. The deed gets interrupted when another Jedi comes around to sniff Master Torben while he's deep in meditation, but he instead smells something funky going on. Master Squid reports back to Master Time Waster, who tells him that there was another attack while Osha was with him and sends him to go after Mae. Then we get the privilege of seeing another one of these Disney Star Wars street markets that all look the fucking same. Mae meets with this apothecary and asks for help making a poison, but he whips up some Mountain Dew instead. The Jedi arrive on Olega just as Mae arrives for round 2 with this Jedi Master that we learn has been in deep meditation for 10 years, and she easily talks the Jedi Master into liquid seppuku, brought to you by Mountain Dew. Osha arrives at the scene first, setting herself up to be accused again, but Master Bay-Tor immediately exonerates her, making sure none of that juicy tension is allowed to build up. The Jedi interrogate the fake apothecary and he spills the beans and tells them Mae will return tonight. Despite Mae wanting revenge on the Jedi that wronged her in the past, Master Squid included, he still wants another opportunity to save Mae, which he failed to do 16 years ago. At night, they fight, with Master Squid disarming and restraining her, and even with Master Bay-Tor lending a hand, she still vanishes. Vanishes just down the street, that is, where her sister purposefully fails to bring her in. Master Squid gets recalled from his mission, allowing the assassin to go untracked in a genius move by Master Time Waster. Mae tries to kill the Master Mountain Dew mixologist, but he offers to get her out of the city and to the forest planet where a Wookiee Jedi is located. We travel to said planet where said Jedi is yelling at some scavengers to get out of his swamp before heading into his dilapidated home. And with that, episode 2 comes to an end. And now we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if these episodes were great watches or hate watches. But we got a double debate watch with episodes 1 and 2, as they did a few things right and more than a few things wrong. Overall, I think the majority of these first 2 episodes are simply boring. Sure, there's a lot going on, and there's some action scenes, and there's a fairly quick pace to the story developments. But when you get down to it, the story and the dialogue and the characters do very little to grab your attention. And we'll revisit that problem toward the end of this review. First, let's get to some of the things that these first 2 episodes of The Acolyte did right, such as character design. As for the prominent characters, I'd say Mae was the only one that has a real unique design that I felt was good, but this show actually did a decent job at designing a lot of cool or interesting looking aliens and background characters. Disney has been picked on in the past for creating a whole bunch of different aliens that pretty much look the same, but thus far The Acolyte seems to be moving away from that. Master Soul, referred to as Master Squid before, is a likable new character, and sadly the only bright spot so far. But he's honorable and caring and wise, and everything a Jedi Master should be from an audience's perspective. If he stays that way, then he'll be remembered as such. But even if it turns out that he's been lying about Osha and Mae's past, it'll only add depth to his character as you wonder how and why someone like him would do something like that. Beyond all that, these first 2 episodes took us to something like 5 different planets, several of them seemingly new, and that kind of space exploration should be a constant in all Star Wars media. So The Acolyte earned some small praise for that. Now for the action, the fight choreography is pretty decent. It's somewhat interesting and they do some innovative things with it, at least for Star Wars. It does, however, feel unsatisfying in a way. Pretty much no punches or kicks end up landing, so you're left with just a lot of catches and dodges and the occasional force push. Capping these sequences off with some solid contact at the end at least would have taken these scenes up to the next level. And while I would never want these kind of martial arts fight scenes in lieu of lightsaber duels, they're not half bad for what they are. Lastly, these first 2 episodes had some decent visuals in terms of sets, locations, space travel, those kinds of things. Nothing that will blow you away, but some of it gets the job done. On the other side of that same coin, and moving from the good of these episodes to the bad, some things look really cheap. The Jedi robes looked like Halloween costumes pulled right out of the package. The rocks Osha was going through in the first episode looked like they were pulled right off the Matterhorn ride at Disneyland. They looked real fake. And rewatching the first episode, I realized that they showed a fire in the open vacuum of space, and it was burning just as it normally would on Earth. Which is just so dumb and so lazy, but the script needed Osha to look into the fire of retrospection. Never mind that she's in the middle of a spacewalk. It's important to ask yourself after these episodes if what we just watched looked like it was worth $22.5 million, which is the reported average cost of each episode. And in this case, I didn't see $45 million worth of quality in these first 2. In terms of the bigger problems, all of the characters outside of the twins and Master Soul are completely flat and one-dimensional, and seem to just be there to move the plot along. Sure, we're only 2 episodes in, but the show is not off to a good start in this regard. And the majority of the dialogue delivered by these stiff, robotic characters will put you to sleep. So it's a recipe for disaster. But above all of that, the biggest mistake that these premiere episodes make is failing to deliver a gripping story from the get-go. There's very little offered here that would actually make someone want to come back and watch next week. The story doesn't grab you, the characters don't intrigue you. The story is putting a lot of emphasis on this shared history between the characters without making it of interest to us, the audience, as of yet. And the Acolyte as a whole looks to be relying mostly on the legacy of the Star Wars universe to keep people watching, rather than the story itself. So while these first 2 episodes on their own weren't terrible, they commit the cardinal sin of being pretty forgettable and not giving viewers much of a reason to come back next week. And they squandered opportunity after opportunity to let actual intrigue and tension build. Like the twin thing, for example. The best thing you have going for you as a storyteller when using twins is the idea of mistaken identity. Well, rather than play that up, this show resolves that tension in the first episode. Or when Osha is found next to a fresh corpse, she's just immediately absolved of any culpability, and the tension just gets sucked right out of the room. And people keep calling this series something of a murder mystery. It can't be a mystery if you showed us who committed the murder. That's a pretty basic tenet of the genre. Many people believe that this show would be something similar to The Fugitive, where Osha would need to go on the run and prove her innocence. And so far, it seems like they would have been better off going down that path. And just to leave a sour taste in our mouths, the ending of both episodes were clunky as shit with these abrupt endings after introducing some new idea to the story. But we're just 2 episodes in, and while there's little reason to think the rest of the show will be any different, we've got a ways to go and we've got to let it play out all the same. And on that note, be wary of anyone that's telling you that these 2 episodes themselves are terrible. There's plenty to criticize around this show, but someone saying that these 2 episodes on their own were the worst thing ever to happen to Star Wars is not a genuine person. I would be remiss not to mention that this show, while it hasn't done so yet, is set to trample all over the lore, so we don't even need to jump the gun. Darth Tenebris and Darth Plagueis and Master Yoda are all active and prominent during this period of time, so they're set up to possibly get steamrolled by this show, or excluded altogether, which would be just as big a mistake. In closing, I'd say buckle up, because we may be in for a wild ride with the Acolyte. But what else would you expect when the actors publicly show the fans that they know nothing of the Star Wars lore, and we visit the High Republic in live action for the first time, an era that spawned this infamous storyboard and brought us characters like Geode, the moody space navigating rock. Yes, this is an official Star Wars character. Man, the Acolyte really is a recipe for disaster. Did you tune in for the premiere of The Acolyte? If so, was there anything that grabbed you and made you want to keep watching? Or are you planning to skip it and watch our weekly videos instead? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HateWatchers to stay up to date on The Acolyte. Thank you for walking in on Jedi Master Bay-Tor with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.